All right, the Reds. Friday's talking Reds. Gareth Roberts, Ian Ryan back in the seats. We're down in the studio today just simply because we were already set up and couldn't be arsed setting up in the bar. I know you'd like to see the bar upstairs in Avenue HQ and people wandering around in the background and you like to comment on the girls and all that. I'm on to yous. I'm on to yous. But we're down in the studio today, so, you know, is what it is. But the big thing everyone's talking about, in a very boring way for me, I've got to be honest, but we'll get into that, is this takeover business, as Walshy's called it on the agenda here. Sheik Khaled, are we saying? Is that all right?
I'm happy with that.
I'll stick with that. So Liverpool have reportedly rejected a world record takeover bid of £2 billion submitted by this fella, who apparently is the cousin of Man City's owner, Sheik Mansour, blah, 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 blah. Dan Roan from the BBC says a Liverpool source said the £2 billion valuation would not be something FSG or any individual owner will have set. I mean, basically, to cut through, I mean, it's everywhere this. It's on the BBC. It was the Mail that reported it first. The Echo have done stuff on it. Everyone's picked it up. It appears to be bollocks is the bottom line, really. And FSG have said before, and they're saying it again today, that they've sort of put it out there previously that they'd be happy to have a minority stake sold if it meant that it sort of took the club on. And, you know, you can see with things that they tried at times, like they tried to sell naming rights and things like that, they didn't really get it. Some of the corporate stuff they tried to do, they've done all right out of it. You've seen match day revenues grow, but I don't think the take-up's been quite what they thought, because it's just harder in the north, basically. I mean, I remember John Henry saying something like that, and that is a reality of the situation. I mean, you look at Arsenal, it's mad, the Emirates. There's like if you sliced it in half, there's like a mad corporate floor, and it's like circles of hell. And the closer you get to the middle, the more you're paying, and it's like ridiculous money. But they're in London and they can do that. Liverpool can't quite do that up here. Getting better for it, but you know, like when blades like Channel 4 go, not coming to Liverpool, well in. I mean, you know, I'm getting into all kinds here. I was about to have a go at the council and say, any chance we get a train between the airport and town, but that's for another time. But anyway, this thing, I mean, what's been your reaction to it? Are you bothered? I'm just enjoying my footy at the moment, to be honest. I'm enjoying where Liverpool are, and this just feels a little bit of a distraction for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think my first thought was, who's leaked it? Whose benefit is this for it to come out now? Because you wouldn't think it's Liverpool's benefit. Well, we know it's not Liverpool's benefit. You couldn't see FSG doing it. So that's the first question, who's leaked it? I must admit, I didn't recognise the guy from the Mail as one of the top boys.
No,
I have to say, nothing against them.
I mean,
I don't really follow the Mail, I have to say. But
we've done some digging, and today ourselves, mainly Andy Heaton, to be fair, he loves all that. And
he does love it, doesn't he? He does love it.
He says it's defo not coming from the club, basically. No, it defo hasn't it. You kind of get that sense from James Pearce's stuff as well. They definitely haven't put it out there that that's how much they want or anything like that to go. And on that as well, I mean, we're purely speculating here now, but you look at the Kroenke Arsenal situation, and that valued them at 1.9 billion.
Yeah.
So actually, 2 billion for the Reds seems quite low when, you know, you think of our worldwide status and everything else. You think of where they currently are and the fact that, you know, they were in a Champions League final, okay, only 2 games in, but they look well prepared to do something this season as well.
Yeah.
2 billion quid, you know, no one's been selling football clubs much lately, so it's hard to say, but that actually doesn't seem that much to buy a football club, especially one like Liverpool. You'd maybe be looking more towards 3. And this is a mad conversation.
Yeah, it is.
3 billion quid.
I think United I think they're valued at around about 3.1, if I remember rightly. So, you know, whether we like it or not, we'd probably be less than that. Okay. I would imagine. But I take your point about, I think, Arsenal 1.8, 1.9. I think 2 billion would still have been the record, wouldn't it, for a sale. But as you said, I mean, I've taken some interest in what Sheik has always said in this, because he always seems like he's been quite well linked in, well researched, friend of the show, obviously. And I think his take was that there's no sign from the ownership that they're even considering or prepared to.
They never got to the top
sell. No, it's not something that they've even thought about. There's no really interest in it. I think, you know, your point there, Robbo, about, you know, they would welcome some small minority investments. But that always feels like something that's difficult to do, because the people who are investing that minority share, then what do they get for it? In terms of, you know, the whole Arsenal thing, one of the problems there was the guy just couldn't make any decisions, could he? Even though he had 30% he could never kind of get anything past the board because he owned such a small stake. So I think it's difficult. I mean, I think at the minute, I always find the chat about the ownership, it's dead interesting. And I think there was an Unwrapped show the other day that Rob Gutman hosted. I thought was really good, actually. And there was some good takes on it. I mean, my thoughts on the owners, it's probably changed. I mean, I'm not one of those who kind of will absolutely defend them no matter what, because I think there's people out there who will never say a bad word about them, and then there's people who will just slag them off for the sake of slagging them off, when I think the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. They're not perfect in my eyes, but you could have far worse. And I think they're improving, which is important. They're getting better as time goes on. They've made some mistakes. We know what they are. The ticket price thing, but they kind of...
They could like
they
build
went
Danny Rose.
I think Danny Rose's the big one for me. That's still one that really kind of... It really pisses you off, because you think that's from our point of view, you see that as an easy win, don't you? Go and do what I think was mentioned at the very start of their tenure, which was get the stadium to around about 60,000. You think that's something that should happen. It needs to happen.
Especially when, like, the main stand, you know, to be fair, it has been a success. It looks the business.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone now enjoys it. People who go, I still haven't been in it properly. I haven't watched a match from in there, but it's, well, not from the gods. But, you know, everyone I speak to seems to enjoy it, seems to like it, says the facilities obviously are much improved on what was there before.
Yeah.
So having got that example literally in your back garden, if you like, why not, you know, sort the allotments out as well and box the Annie Road? But, you know, and Adam really is doing his best, isn't he?
Listen, he's a machine, and he's a one-man,
if you haven't seen this,
relentless machine.
This is really funny, and look, you know, we're not always dead serious on the Anfield app. We're fans, and Adam basically every time Peter Moore tweets, Adam replies instantly.
But he's first on. He's always the first one.
He must have the little bell thing,
Honestly.
you know, where like I've got it on for, like, I think Joycey and like the club and James Pearce, I think. And then everything else, I don't bother. I can't be asked getting a notification about everything. But he's well got it on for Peter Moore.
But he's always ready to go though. When he's never like, you know.
He sends him like a picture of the Annie Road plans with a big arrow like that, basically saying any chance there. So I mean, there is that. I mean, what else can we say about this really? I mean, you know, lots and lots of talk about it everywhere, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I mean, you know, FSG paid 300 million or thereabouts in 2010. They stand to make a lot of money when they do sell it. But I just don't, it doesn't feel to me like it's anytime soon, because I think surely they want to turn Liverpool around to the point of winning the league, to the point of winning the Champions League, and then be able to say, we did that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about leaving a legacy, then it needs to be, you know, those things you've mentioned there, on the pitch success. And I think, you know, people will level things at them like, well, there's only been one League Cup win during their kind of ownership, but, you know, they can take some of that blame maybe because, you know, they're in charge of kind of funds and things, but ultimately, we've come close as well so many times. So you're talking really now.
And we're in a good place now.
Yeah,
we're in a good place.
And I think that's important to recognise, you know, sometimes it's the better devil you know. You know, you could go and get someone in now and you're starting from scratch again, whereas actually, as you say, on the pitch now, things are looking really good. You know, off the pitch, business-wise, I think most Reds are happy with what we've done, you know, kind of recruitments.
And there's some, I mean, you know, there's stuff out there if you want more on this. I can't remember the name of the fella off the top of my head, but there's a fella who's written loads about Man City's owners. It's really interesting stuff. It's really depressing stuff, to be honest, and it's all around sort of human rights in Abu Dhabi and that sort of stuff. So, you know, there's questionable morals going on, and I know there's not many morals in football, but it's kind of, I'm not big in FSG up. I'm like you in that, like, I sort of think they're getting better. The club's in I think a decent place now on and off the pitch.
Totally agree.
I think some of the stuff they've been doing with the community is much better. Some of the stuff they've been doing with the fans is much better. It can still get better again. But I kind of think I'm all right with them. I'm all right with them, and I don't want to just go.
Strides though, Rob.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I think you know he's been mentioned before, and he does get reference, and rightly so. But Tony Barrett going in there has probably helped because he is a, you know, he understands the fan culture. He kind of speaks to lots of fans around the area. He goes to game, he has done for a while. He knows us here, so he will take regular feedback. But again, he's only one man, he can't change everything. Yeah. He says that all the time himself. But I think there are positive strides, you know, even the stuff around, you know, the European Cup final and that kind of whole fan park thing. It was it was perfect, wasn't it? It was
good.
what was needed, and I think a lot of kind of fan thoughts were taken into account before that. And as you said, you know, all the stuff off the pitch, the neighbourhood stuff, it's getting better and better. You know, there's probably, you know, our neighbours across the park have probably been doing things maybe a little bit better from a community point of view. You don't like saying it, but they have been. You know, they've been good at doing that. Straight on the pitch, like, you know what I mean? But you know, they know a good community project when they see one. So I mean, I think there's so there's things we can learn from that. But you know, this, as you said, doesn't look like it's got loads and loads of legs to it. But at the minute, you know, my focus, probably most people's focus, is what's happening on the pitch.
Yeah,
and
we're good.
We've got another big game tomorrow, which, you know, we're all looking forward to.
We are indeed. Okay, well, I mean, people do like chats about the owners, and people do say to us, why don't you talk about FSG? We honestly do, and we honestly have loads of times. How often do you want us to talk about it? But we did this week, like Ian mentions, Rob Gutman on the Unwrap show, got into it, had a big chat about it, had a panel of people talking about FSG and their ownership, where we were, where we are now, and that kind of thing. Here's a clip of that.
In a way, have they lowered their own expectations, or were things genuinely that bad then that it has justifiably taken this long to get where we've got to? Not we're actually any pinnacle of any mountain, but still, we're in a good place.
I think they could have done it quicker. I think it would have helped if they were here more, and I think they've been largely absent. And I think, you know, I've got a few quotes here from when they first kind of came over, and when they first took over, and you know, I'll talk about the Tom Werner first of all, who's obviously still chairman of Liverpool Football Club, and he says, we recognise that Liverpool Football Club is a historic institution ultimately grounded in the community and the fans. Our first step as new owners will be to listen. We will be visible at Anfield, and we will embrace and listen to those who have stood by this club and who are on the rock on which its future success will be built. We want to hear from the fans, local leaders and the local community. We want to hear from those who know LFC best, and we have made it the best, and I'll share our desire to return to a culture of winning. I mean, there's quite a lot in that statement I've just read out, but in terms of being visible at Anfield, I would argue that they haven't. Yeah. And I'm willing to, you know, accept that people will have, you know, different importance of that. Like, some people will want to see the owners there all the time, and some people thought, well, you know what, I can't care less. In fact, it's another seat you're taking off a Scouser. But
another 20 seats.
But at the same time, I think generally, the more you put yourself into it, the better. You know, the more you understand it and the quicker you understand things, I think the better. And I think if they had been genuinely more visible, I think we could have avoided a lot of the issues, like the ticket price walkout situation where they had to backtrack, and other things where, you know, they've been wrong, and then it's took them a while to kind of see why. And I think, I mean, Dave will know more about this than me, but I think we're on our fourth incarnation of supportive groups now. With the, you know, there's the fan groups now, and these focus groups that Gareth Roberts is on one of them, and I think they're always set up.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the local Narcs one, I think it is. No, he's on either season ticket holders or L postcode. I'm not sure, but he's on one of those. But anyway, but. I think they're always set up with the best will, these local fan groups, and then I think there was even the first ones that were set up, and then there was, you know, different. I think, you know, in the setup with, as I say, with the best will, but they never quite work out for whatever reason, and so they've tried something else. But one of the things was that the very first one they set up, they said they'd be present at least one a year, I think it was, and then didn't attend any. So I think there are issues there, and to go back to your question, I think, you know, they're relying on men on the ground, and that can only ever take you so far.
All right, so that was Unwrapped with Rob Gutman. If you want more of that kind of thing, subscribe to the Anfield app, subscribe to Tour Player. Just go to the website, theanfieldapp.com, click subscribe, fill out the form, pay a £5, and you get access to all of our podcasts, past and present. And it's, you know, it's everything you want about being a Liverpool fan, I think. But I would say that. But have a go. And if you don't like it, cancel. And all you've paid out's a £5, isn't it? One of them. Well, what's a £5? A pint. A copy of 442.
Sort of 442, now £5. So what it is
it's
now,
about a £5, yeah, pretty much a £5. It might be 4, like 80 or 90 or something like that, but yeah. So, you know, absolute bargain, the wrap, innit? Anyway, Divock Origi. There's talk today, Neil Jones has been reporting it about, basically seems to have broken down a little bit with the idea of him going to Dortmund. It seems Liverpool won about 22 million quid or thereabouts for him. Dortmund not prepared to pay that. Also in the piece from Neil as well, which is really good, good reporter obviously, he was saying Divy's turned down a move to Wolves who were prepared to pay the money.
Right.
But also as well, it says that Liverpool have said to Divy and his representatives, you're not going on loan anywhere. So basically what's happening is Liverpool are saying, someone's got to cough up 22 million. And if they don't, we're keeping them. And it went on to say that, I mean, you know, there might still be a little bit of fluff here because the transfer window is still open, obviously, in the rest of Europe. So there's still the possibility of him going. But I like so with that in mind, I like the line. He's been looking good in training, and now he's above Dom Solanke now in the pecking order. And if there is an injury to any of the lads in the front three, or even the lads on the bench, he'll be back in. And I thought. You know that emoji like that?
Above Dom Solanke, you say? I mean, I don't know whether that's a massive compliment or not, to be honest. No offence to Dom. But I think with Origi, you know what? I'm kind of all right, Robbo, if he stays around. I think, you know, it doesn't. It's another body, and I think there's a conversation to be had, I suppose, about what is Origi's true quality. I don't quite know, because I think if you were to take a snapshot of those games where, before he gets injured, when Funes Mori does them, he looked brilliant.
Yeah, he did have a good spell,
You know, and I think you may have mentioned it on a recent show, you know, where he starts up front away at Dortmund ahead of Daniel Sturridge, and a lot of people thought that night Sturridge should have started, but Origi starts getting a lot of the big games under Jurgen there, and you think to yourself, there's a player there, you know, he looks, you know, I mean, physically he's got everything you'd want, you know what I mean, but he's got pace as well, his touch was looking good, he had a goal in him as well, his record at the time was decent. He comes back from that injury and he looked a shadow really, and you're thinking, well, is it just the injury? You know, will he come back to show the form he had? I'm not too sure. And then you see him a little bit more and a little bit more, and you start to question other parts of his game. I always remember the game away at Bournemouth where we end up losing 4-3, and I thought he scores that day, but I thought his overall game was really poor. It was bouncing off him, he's not chasing back. And sometimes I've probably looked at him and thought, how much do you want it? Now, how much do you really, really want it? And I'm sure if he was sitting, I'd be like, well, you know, I'm as committed as anyone. But I just, well, I mean, you have a fucking go, lad. You know what I mean? But I think some of his performances, it led you down that path a little bit, where you thought, is he quite going to make it at Liverpool? And obviously Jurgen's happy for him to go out. But at the same time, if he is another body, an extra lad around the place, I think you could make an argument where last season, if he'd have been on the bench ahead of Dom Solanke, I think most people would have probably said,
all right with that.
I'm all right with that.
That's the point really, isn't it? That you've got the front three, and the front three are always starting pretty much week in, week out. You've got Sturridge kicking around, who's looked great pre-season. You got Brewster, who signed a professional contract but injured for a while, but you know, everything points to the fact that he's going to get a bit of a go. Solanke, like we've mentioned. So it's sort of, you know, fourth or fifth striker at any club. How good are they? I mean, I know people lots of people get a little bit annoyed about Divy and don't rate him and say he's not good enough for Liverpool and all that kind of thing. He's not starting though. He's never going to be starting. He's a squad player.
Yeah, but it feels like it's been so long since we've seen him now, so it's hard to really know that true level. Obviously, Jurgen's watching him in training every day. Yeah, he did. I must admit, you know, pre-season, it's always hard again to judge in pre-season. The bits I saw of him in pre-season, no, I wasn't blown away. I have to say again, there was times where you're thinking, oh, should he be busting a bit more? You know, you've got a chance to impress the manager. You know, every pre-season, every player's got that chance to put a little seed of doubt in the manager's mind to say, right, think about me. I could do a job for you. You didn't see that from him. But saying that, you know, if you're asking me to choose between, you know, Dom Solanke or Origi, and I don't want to get on Solanke's back again, he's a young player, but he doesn't look anywhere near the right level for me at the minute. Now, we could go away, have a loan spell, come back and look a lot better, but I think I'd rather have Origi there as a backup, just in case. And by the way, 22 million in this market, I think Dortmund, no, that's not a bad fee, that, you know what I mean? I don't exactly, and Ings is no, you know, Ings' kind of show reel, if you like, in the last few years, well, there isn't one because he's been injured so much. I think if you can get Danny Ings fit, he probably does get you between 12 and 15 goals if he played every single game, but there's a huge question mark hanging over him. I think Origi would probably get you similar numbers, maybe certainly double figures if he's playing all the time, every week, because I think there are aspects to his game that are decent. I always thought maybe someone like Newcastle might come in for for an Origi. Obviously, that can't happen now, but I still wouldn't rule out him moving. You know, I still think before the window ends,
I think
there'll be a lot of work going on, Robbo, to get Big Divvy's move. So
the line about training is a bit of a flag for me. That they're still saying, but if you cough up, he's available. Other news then, Karius reportedly flying to Istanbul today for his Besiktas medical. Details of that is that they'll have to cough up 9.5 million quid in 2 years. But that's if he plays more than 50% of the games and the club qualify for Europe. While she's put here, 9.5 million in 2 years might be about 95p.
So they never, that, you know what I mean? They're never paying it.
And then basically saying, sad that his career might potentially be over at sort of 25. But I mean, this is why he's going out there, isn't it? I mean, away from the limelight and all that sort of stuff.
You felt, I think there was a conversation maybe, you know, not long after the final where people were still saying, well, could he do a job as number 2? But then you see what pre-season had in store for him, and it got no better, did it? Let's be honest. It looked like it was getting to the point where you just started to really feel sorry for him, because it looked like no fun at all. And football should be enjoyable. Sports should be enjoyable. And I think in the main, most fans are just happy to see him move on and hopefully get back to a place where he looks like a half decent goalie again, because there must have been something there, Robbo, at the time when they signed him. I think we've all had a look and thought, you know, he's not good enough for this football club, and that's absolutely fine, but he still is going to be good enough for someone, and you know, he's got his move. So fingers crossed it goes all right for him. Yeah,
absolutely. Good luck to him there, and hope he gets on well. From the wrap, loads of stuff this weekend then, all the usual stuff. We're on the radio at 6:30, Radio City Talk. Get on that. There will be all the usual weekend stuff, so a team talk show, reacting to Jurgen Klopp's press conference. The Weekender show, which is the new free show that goes out now. Give that a go if you don't subscribe. The Friday show. Just everything, isn't it? And then we'll be doing all the post-match stuff, post the game against Brighton as well, which we're all getting excited about. Not too much talk on here about that. Reason for that being is that we've done a separate preview show video, so have a go at that. That will be out probably around the same time as this. And also as well, we've noticed that people are watching this and watching our other videos, but not clicking the little subscribe button. So come on, do us a favour, because we want to get them numbers up and be able to go, boss us, aren't we? And also as well, when we're having conversations in-house about what should we be doing and in the future and all that kind of stuff, well, if you're clicking subscribe and we can see people literally like what we're doing, then we'll carry on doing it. So click that, and also, and don't laugh at this, come on, click the little bell.
Oh mate, come on.
There's a little
You're better than that.
So you click, I'm not, you know. So you click subscribe, but also click the little bell. Reason you click the little bell is you get a notification then every time we post a new video. Go ahead. Yeah, you're just watching yourself, aren't you?
Well, I mean.
That's when you're not slagging Liverpool players off, like. But that's another story. But yeah, have a boss weekend. Enjoy the Reds at Anfield against Brighton. And we'll be back with more talking Reds next week. Up there.